all for making it to this meeting. We have quite a packed agenda here. I want to welcome the public. I am the new commissioner chair for 2022, Luke Jasmine, and I am accompanied by our vice chair, Jenny Rose, and our former chair from last year, Commissioner Ladd Smith. We have Commissioner Navarrete. Did I say it correctly? Okay. Luvi May was trying to teach us, and we were making sure we got it. And absent currently right now is Commissioner Wilburn, who we're expecting pretty soon. We have from the Office of Ombudsman, Mr. Bart and Miss Luvi May, and currently missing today is Christina. Thank you, Chief Idol, for taking the time to be here. See Matt and Timothy want to recognize you as well. And we want to move here to the next step in our agenda, and that is the approval of the agenda. So I'll take a second to look over, and if there's any motion or any comments.
So moved on the approving the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
all those opposed? Hearing none. Anyone want to abstain? Hearing none, is passed unanimously. Thank you all, and we're going to move over to the minutes from November 16th. And actually, before I do that, one thing I forgot to do, you all, is this is the Office of Police Ombudsman Commission, and this is the meeting for January 18th, 2022. So thank you for that. Now moving on to the minutes for November 16th. If we had a chance to look over that, do we have a motion to approve?
I so move the minutes of November 16th.
Okay. Motion on the floor. Anyone second?
I second.
Okay, second. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, aye.
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 Okay. That passes unanimously. Thank you all. So we've approved the November 16 minutes. And right now, we will move into public forum. So do we have anyone from the public who would like to speak?
We do not.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you for that. We have a guest speaker today. And thank you, Chief Midle, for taking the time to meet with us. Now, I will say this, Chief Midle. So we have a list of questions for you, okay? So we got about 11, and we're tasked to get through these 11 questions. So all the help that you can assist with so that we can get through. I don't think you'll be surprised with what you'll get, but these are questions that have been compiled and questions that the public has. So after we do that, I would love to give you the floor for about 10 minutes to just go over things that maybe weren't in the questions, or certain reports or trends that you want the OPO and the public to know and hear about. And then we'll finish off with any additional questions from the commission. Does that sound good?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Chairman Jasmine and members of the commission. I will try to talk quickly then.
Okay. So the first question that we have for you, Chief Midal, is can you share how you're using use of force data to drive accountability?
Yeah, so one of the challenges when you're looking at just strictly raw numbers is the raw numbers don't tell you really a whole lot. It tells you how much force you use, what type of force you use, but when you're looking at just the specific numbers, it's not going to give you any details about what were the circumstances involving that use of force. What was the call type? How many officers were there? What kind of tools were used? So I would say the raw aggregate numbers aren't going to really do a whole lot to tell us about our processes other than here's the quantity, and it doesn't give us any of that qualitative information that we need. So what we do, and this was actually something that I borrowed from LAPD probably 8 or 9 years ago, a different model, right? At LAPD, they've got 8,000, 10,000 officers. I think they're down to around 8,000 now. So they've got the staffing we don't have. However, they have a concept where they look at uses of force and they look at them with a panel of department employees. And I believe they even have their civilian oversight sit in on that. I don't quote me on that. Mr. Logue or Luby, they would know better than I would. So what I did is I said, use of force is one of the more contentious issues surrounding law enforcement across the nation. Spokane is no different. So if this is something that really has such a heightened interest in really when you're talking about governmental intrusion, local law enforcement being the most visible form of the government, and us using force, which is required as part of our job, it's something that we should be looking at very closely and using judiciously. So I took this concept from LAPD. We stood up what's called a use of force review board to basically, after a use of force goes through what we call a chain of command review, which is where every layer of the agency reviews that use of force, the police reports, they have the body camera video, they look at any additionals, they look at recommendations, then every single layer of the chain of command is expected to review that independently and decide, was this use of force compliant with our policies and laws, or was it not? So if there is a lack of compliance in the use of force, then is it something such as this officer did not turn on their body camera, they didn't turn it on soon enough, they were late turning it on? Is this something we'll handle with what we call a DOC, documentation of counseling, send that to the sergeant, give this to the officer? If it's a larger issue, then that is something that we expect our supervisors to say, this is actually misconduct. This use of force is outside policy, it's misconduct. And actually, we're going to be talking about this tomorrow at senior staff with our lieutenants and above, reminding the sergeants that, if you're seeing a use of force that is misconduct, you need to initiate what we call an IA blue team on the internal affairs. So all of that goes through the chain of command review. Once it's done going through the chain of command review, then once a month, our use of force review board will meet and review every single use of force. And we actually had Director Matt Connell develop a list of criteria we want this use of force review board to examine each use of force through this list of, and I apologize if I didn't know the question was coming, I'd have pulled up the list, but things such as de-escalation, positioning, first aid, after the use of force occurs. So we have a laundry list of things we want them to look at to determine, can we do this better? Once they're done with that monthly meeting, then I'll get the notes from that. Actually, our exec staff gets the notes from that as well. So the goal is that there are uses of force that are compliant with policy, they're compliant with law, but are there ways we could have done them better? Is there something different we could have done, something different we should have done? Even though it was within policy, could we have done something different to potentially either avoid using force or potentially use a lesser level of force as well? So in terms of, to get back to your question, and in terms of just the numbers itself, we obviously monitor those numbers. When you're comparing last year, 2021, we had 66 use of force incidents. So out of the 130,000 plus calls that we responded to, 66 of those incidents had some level of force used. The year prior, in 2020, we had 71 total use of force incidents, fairly comparable numbers in terms of calls that we responded to. So somewhere in the neighborhood, 130,000 to 150,000 incidents that we're responding to, whether it's a calls for service or self-initiated. So when you're looking at the actual applications of force, they trended down last year by 5 compared to 2020. So it's, you know, and Mr. Logan and I have talked about this as well, as trying to, it's really a quality control process that we're trying to use after the actual chain of command investigation or / review has been done on that, if that makes sense.
Thank you for that. And the next question that we have, it's been coming up quite a bit. Can you share why the PAC team was disbanded?
Yeah, there was a number of reasons, and the spokesman covered it accurately for us. You know, we had, and this was in the news, this isn't something that isn't out in the public. You know, we had 2 officers that were involved in a case trial, and during that trial, the judge had made some allegations that I don't want to get into right now because it is an active investigation. So with this occurring, with our staffing issues we've had, there were a number of different reasons why we did that. This was an opportune time to do it. One of the other things too is we are actually pretty blessed as a department. If we lose no more officers by the end of the month, we will have almost every single one of our vacancies filled. We know we constantly have attrition through retirement, and this will all tie together. But we also have about 45 officers, 45 positions on the books that are either in some level of training, like the FTO car, out at the police academy, so we can't use them as staffing right now, or they're going to be starting the academy at the beginning of February. So when you look at the overall positions we have, we're looking good for number-wise, but we have about 45 positions that we just aren't in a position to use because they're at some level of training or in process of being hired. So what we did about 3 or 4 months ago is we looked at all of our units not assigned to patrol and that are not detectives. And we said, we need to help patrol. We're holding officers over on almost every single shift, multiple officers over, or we're trying to call in officers to fill vacancies on shifts. And our officers are getting tired and they need time off to recharge and refresh as well. So we looked at outside of patrol and outside of investigations, what are some other units we can try to beef patrol up until we get these folks out of training and we can start using them again. So we talked about the traffic unit, we talked about the PAC team, we talked about our domestic violence unit, which has 4 officers there. The community outreach officers, there was nothing that was off the table when we had these discussions. We talked with our senior staff, which is lieutenants and above. And then when we had these conversations, we decided, let's rotate our traffic unit back into patrol because they're using all the same equipment, all the same software. They know how to use the platforms that patrol uses because our traffic uses them every day. Well, our traffic fatalities last year were at 25 traffic fatalities in the city of Spokane. Extremely high numbers. The driving that we've seen from some members of the community has gone through the roof. We had one officer shared a story where he was driving along in a car passed him at 60. And when he stopped the driver and asked her why she was driving so fast, she said, I thought you guys got rid of your traffic units. So I use that just as an example that we know we need traffic enforcement as well. So the fatalities were up. Speeding or driving in general is always one of the top complaints we get in the city. So we know we needed to move our traffic unit back. So with the investigation that is underway right now, based on some statements from the judge, based on our staffing needs as well, we decided we need to move the traffic folks back, and we still have 2 more to move back, which we hope to move back fairly quickly. but we decided we need to move those PAC folks back to patrol as well. So we will at some point have another proactive team. It's not going to be a PAC team, a police anti-crime team. I don't have a date of when that's going to occur, but at some point we will reestablish that, because these were officers that were not assigned to patrol or tied to the radio, but we gave them the opportunity to go out and be proactive. You need to go out and try to get ahead of criminals before they break the law, instead of patrol following behind them, writing the reports after the damage is done as well. So there's a number of different reasons why that was the time for us to rotate them to patrol.
Appreciate that. Hey, we're on number 3. We're moving along. See, I knew we could do this. So the OPO has issued several closing reports under the new police contract. Can you share from your side what value these reports bring to your department?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the law enforcement, like most, I mean, like being a doctor, probably like being an attorney, like being a mechanic, it's such a unique profession, right? And we see things and we do things that the rest of the community doesn't necessarily see or hear or do. And they shouldn't have to. They pay us to go out and deal with this stuff, right? But a lot of the things that our officers experience and see are things that most of the community really has no idea about. And that's not looking for accolades. That's just the way law enforcement is. When we're all sleeping, there's some things that go on in the city that the community probably never knows about. Our officers take care of it. But we also know that communities across the nation want to have input into law enforcement, what they want from law enforcement. Spokane is like many other communities where they want to have a level of transparency, but also a potential level of input. And if we have a city of over 223,000 folks, there's no way we can get input from 223,000 individuals. It would be absolutely impossible. So, you know, we have what we call the Office of Police Ombudsman that is there to provide that input into law enforcement practices. So to get to your question, I think that, you know, Mr. Logue and Louis Main and Mr. Logue's staff, they provide a different lens. You know, we go call to call as an agency. We are a call responsive agency. We don't have any or very limited discretionary time. So having someone who represents that community as the focus of that input from the community, for me, provides value. And it doesn't mean, obviously, we're not going to always agree on everything, but it does mean it provides a valuable input. And sometimes it's, hey, here's some things that you should change. Sometimes it's, hey, here's some things that you probably want to try to get information out about because the community is not understanding. Why do you do this? Why don't you do that? Why does it take you so long to get the call? So it provides value at a number of different levels for us. You know, one of the things I tell folks as well is, like, you know, I've been married to my wife now for 25 years. We both want what's best for our kids, but we don't always agree on what's best for our kids, right? So if you're not going to always agree with your spouse on how to raise your kids, but you both want what's best, we're not going to always agree with each other. I mean, my department doesn't agree with me on things as well, and that's okay. I will at least explain why I'm doing it and why I think it's important to do it. But it's not realistic for me to expect folks to always agree with that. As long as I'm willing to explain, here's why I'm doing it, here's why I think it's important. So that's where I think the value comes from Mr. Logue and the OPO as well, as providing that input for us to consider. And we've taken a lot of their input. And I'm not saying this because Mr. Logue is sitting on here at all. He and Louis May, you know, the person behind the scenes, they do a great work. All of their recommendations are well backed by data, by logic, and a lot of it's from information they've seen from successes in other agencies as well. So I'm appreciative of their thoroughness.
Thank you for that. So under House Bill 1310, officers need probable cause in order to use force. Can you explain how do Terry stops change? Can you explain how this is different from the previous practice?
Yeah, this can be complicated. There's some nuances to it. So a Terry stop, and I'm going to paraphrase it. Louis May, I know you probably have this memorized and you had to for the bar, so please don't embarrass me. But basically, a Terry stop means an officer has specific articulable suspicion that an individual is or was involved in a crime at that time and location or in that vicinity. So what that means is an officer has reasonable suspicion. It's more than a hunch, more than this person looks like they're up to no good, I'm going to stop them. You have to have specific articulable suspicion that this person is involved in some kind of criminal conduct. You don't have to have probable cause. You don't have to have proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but you have to have more than a hunch is one of the ways I've heard it described. So in every other state except Washington State, reasonable force is allowed to detain someone who does not want to be detained on a Terry stop that's trying to leave the scene. What happened with the police reforms last year was that the legislators decided we do not want force being used on Terry stops under reasonable suspicion, only if you have probable cause. So if you think of probable cause is the threshold needed to arrest someone, to book them. Probable cause, again, it's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just probable cause that they committed a crime, you can arrest them. So, as a matter of fact, I was communicating with the executive director from WASPIC, and he sent some stories from the West Side to me as well. So what we found very quickly was individuals that were involved in some kind of crime, when officers would show up as they were leaving, the officers would say, "You're not free to leave. You need to stay." And they'd say, "You can't make me stay," and they would leave. And we're seeing this across the state. So an example I would use is domestic violence. If SPD gets a call, and we get somewhere around 10 to 12 of these easily a day, of a domestic violence that has occurred as a residence, officers show up. And it's not uncommon when someone has committed a crime. And again, mind you, not everyone has committed a crime when we show up, but when someone has committed a crime, it's not uncommon. People want to leave. They don't want to go to jail for that. So as we're pulling up, they're leaving. Well, right now, the only thing the officer has is that one person on the phone that says, "I was assaulted, and this is who did it." So officers show up, they see the person that is alleged to have done it. They're walking out their front door and walking down the sidewalk. The officers haven't had a chance to talk to the victim yet and find out what happened, where are your injuries, are there any witnesses? All they have right now is one allegation. Prior to the reforms, the officer could say, "Sir, ma'am, I need you to stay. You're not free to leave." And if they said, "No, I'm leaving," the officer was allowed to use what's called reasonable force to keep them from leaving while they completed the investigation. As it stands now, the officers can ask them to stay. They cannot compel until they have done enough of an investigation to establish probable cause, either injuries, witnesses, some kind of evidence that would prove this person that is outside and now fleeing the scene had committed that crime. So that's probably the best way for me to describe that. For pursuits as well, the legislators have said that in order to pursue, you can only pursue for a very limited number of crimes, most of them violent crimes, but you have to have probable cause to believe the person that committed the crime is in the vehicle at that specific moment, unless it's a DUI. If it's a DUI, then you can have reasonable suspicion to pursue the vehicle for DUI. So one of the challenges, and again, we're seeing this across the state with drive-bys, and I actually have a brief presentation, if I have time to show it later. If not, I'm happy to come back another time and show it, about the number of drive-bys that have just skyrocketed through the state. And officers may see the car 4 hours later that was involved in the drive-by. Prior to the reform laws, they say 4 hours ago, drive by this vehicle, this plate, we're going to stop the vehicle. If it takes off, okay, we're going to pursue this vehicle because they just committed a drive-by. Well, now, and that's reasonable suspicion. Well, now, in that 4 hours since that drive-by occurred, even though it's the same vehicle, you don't know, was it a different driver? Did they get out? Did the occupants of that vehicle change in that 4 hours? So now if they go to stop it, the vehicle flees, officers cannot pursue it because there's been 4 hours in between the incident and the drive-by, and now when they're trying to contact it, there's reasonable suspicion to believe the occupants were involved in that drive-by, but not probable cause, if that makes sense. So just using those to kind of illustrate.
Thank you for that, Chief. So the next question, and I'll reiterate, I know commissioners, you must have a lot of questions during here. So I'll get through these with you, Chief Midal, give you your time, and then if we have additional questions from commissioners, please ask then. Okay, so now that chokeholds and neck restraints are banned, what tools are SPD training officers to use? So what are we training officers to use?
So yeah, that was, and without going into the whole history of the neck restraint, we did not get any new tools that we didn't already have. In other words, we were not an agency that, because we were using the neck restraint, we're not going to use these other tools. If there were tools out there that we could use, we would use them, whether it was pepper ball guns, the 40 millimeters, tasers, pepper spray. So I would say we haven't used any new tools that we didn't already have. However, what we did do was along with these reforms, the state gave different jurisdictions, cities and counties, money to help purchase tools and or training to implement these reform laws. So what we did then was we asked the council to purchase 100 pepper ball guns. Pepper ball guns are basically, they're like a pepper spray, but you can keep your distance from the individual. You don't have to close in on them. And we asked to purchase more shields. Shields are just basically protect the officers from knives and rocks and things like that. So while we didn't get new tools, we did get more tools that we already had in our vehicles, so that now more officers could have those. The other things we've done is we've, as the reform laws have mandated, officers need to consider leaving the scene. If there's no crime, leave the scene, call for more backup, call for more resources, give the person time to de-escalate. So in the honoring the letter of these reform laws as well, you will see that we will tend to send, if it sounds like it's going to be a crime of violence, or if it's an alleged crime of violence, you're going to see we're going to send an extra officer or two now. And that's keeping in line with what the reform bills have said that they expect law enforcement to do as well. So you'll see, whereas you may see 2 officers on a call prior to this, you'll now typically see 3 generally that will respond as well. And the philosophy being, the more officers that are there, the more hands that are there, the less ideally officers will have to resort to tools. They can just use hands, so that they're not using any tools other than maybe just grabbing them and being able to get them in handcuffs if required.
A lot of jurisdictions have a civilian response to mental health crisis, like Cahoots in Eugene, Oregon. Can you describe what SPD's practice is currently, and after the passage of the new legislation, are police still the primary responders to mental health crisis calls?
Yeah, so we were fortunate about, don't quote me on this, all the years blend together. I want to say 2.5 years ago, we were able to receive a grant through the Washington Associations of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. And they received the funding from the state to start a pilot program. We call it BHU, our Behavioral Health Unit. One of the ways we told WASPC what we would like to do is, instead of just having a City of Spokane mental health response and their co-responders, they're a mental health professional riding with either a commissioned officer, City of Spokane, Spokane Valley, or a deputy. They're stationed out of our downtown precinct downtown, and their goal is to respond to those people who are having a mental health crisis. So it started out small. I want to say we had 2 officers there initially. I believe that the sheriff's office had 1 or 2, and the Valley had 1, to where now it's grown. And I want to say we have about 8 or 9 officers, deputies, Valley officers, and we've expanded their coverage to get us later into the night. And we will have a mental health counselor riding with that officer or deputy, and they will respond. If it's a city officer, but someone in Deer Park's having a mental health crisis, they'll respond to Deer Park. If it's a deputy and they're riding with a mental health counselor, and it's a call in the city, that deputy and that counselor will go to that city call. So we've expanded it because it is used a lot, and it's been wildly successful. I think we have about almost a 75% diversion rate on contacts away from the jail or away from the emergency rooms. And we're having more success following up at a later date with the individual that was in the mental health crisis. The new, and forgive me, I can't recall the name of the new stabilization facility right over here to the west of the county jail detention facility. They brought about 55 individuals in there since that building stood up about October. And one of the things from Sergeant Kernkamp, who's overseen the behavioral health unit, said is that it has worked phenomenally well because it allows, one of the challenges you're seeing with our system is not only the sheer volume of those who have mental health issues or the sheer volume of those who have, substance use addiction issues, huge volumes, but then you have a huge volume that has co-occurring. And a lot of systems aren't set up to deal with the co-occurring. They say you have to get off the drugs before you can treat the mental illness. Well, they're using the drugs to help with the mental illness. So one of the things that the stabilization facility has helped is allowed us to bring people who do have those co-occurring issues as well to get them stabilized and then try to get them on whatever medication they need. So all of that to say, very successful. 3/4 diverted away from the jail or from the ERs. And it's a program that we hope is just going to continue to expand. And real quick caveat to that, we are exploring having non-commissioned responses to certain calls as well. We're working with Jan Takamoto with Frontier Behavioral Health on what types of calls would be appropriate to send non-law enforcement to that we currently send, even our co-deployed to. Are there calls out there where we could send just a mental health counselor, period? Oregon did this, and I'm trying to remember what the department was. I read this about a year and a half ago. And about 2 to 3% of their calls were handled by non-law enforcement response that typically would take a law enforcement response. So it's not an overwhelming number, but 3% is 3% less calls that you'll see police or deputies responding to as well. So that's actually meeting with Jen Takamoto next week, so we're going to get an update on where we're at with that. We have to make sure they're safe as well, because there are some horror stories. There's one on the west side a couple months ago where 2 of these civilian responders were kidnapped for a brief period of time. So we have to make sure that we're in alignment with what calls are your folks comfortable going on and what calls may they be comfortable going on. We're like, yeah, no, there's no way we would want you to go on that call by yourself. So they have to be comfortable because we need to make sure we keep them safe as well.
Okay, we only got a few more left, okay? Military grade weaponry. Did SPD previously have these? And if so, have any less lethal impact weapons been inadvertently banned?
Yeah, and excuse me, when it comes to military weaponry, we didn't have any weaponry. We would get things such as helmets, things like vests, the flak vests. I remember when I first got hired, we had the old Army flak vests. Honestly, I think they were the Vietnam era flak vests. We got really more, a handful of night vision goggles. So we didn't get any weapons from the military. We got more of the protective gear from the military, but those will be turned back over to the military or destroyed. And in terms of were any tools prohibited with these reform laws, yes. The shotguns, and when you think shotgun, think of beanbag shotgun. It can shoot a beanbag pellet about that big, maybe 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Allows officers to keep their distance if someone has like a knife or a bottle or something like that. We lost the ability to use those. 40 millimeter blunt impact tools, we lost the ability to use those as well. Having said that, though, in listening to Representative Goodman and Johnson, their intent is to allow those to be used again because they're considered less lethal. And they said their intent is not to eliminate your ability to use less lethal. We prefer that you actually use more less lethal. So I am convinced that will be rectified during this legislative session.
Okay. So the new legislation that creates a bigger and more involved role for the Criminal Justice Training Commission, which one of our very own is a part of. What changes does this bring?
There's some pretty significant changes. So currently, as it stands, a chief or a sheriff is going to basically be the ultimate decider on, let's say, discipline, whether this officer or this deputy keeps their employment. Is what you did so egregious that you cannot work for our agency anymore? Or do you just get days off? Or is it training? Or is it counseling? Or somewhere in between? And so the ultimate decision of whether that person continues to work for the agency or not rested with the chief or sheriff. And I say that, and I have to say that kind of tongue in cheek, because most chiefs don't have ultimate authority to terminate employment, right? It's city manager or mayor, and we're no different in Spokane. So really, when it comes to separating someone from employment, it's going to ultimately be the city administrator's decision whether that person's separated. But having said that, now with the changes in the training commission, they are given authority to do their own independent investigation on any agency, any police officer, any deputy, anywhere in the state for any potential policy violations. So anyone can make a complaint to the training commission and they can decide, is this something we're going to investigate or not? If they do investigate, then they can decide, obviously, no misconduct, misconduct, more training, misconduct, we're going to suspend your certification for X number of days, or misconduct, we're removing your certification. So you now have an entity that can say, you know, despite this investigation that occurred here, we're doing our own, and we're going to come to our, we're going to come to our own conclusions as to whether you violated that policy or not, and what those sanctions are going to be as well. They're also authorized to basically weigh in on decisions that chiefs or deputies make. They can opine on whether they think the sheriff or the chief made the right decision, and provide input on that as well. And they're still standing up that committee. In fact, they just sent out a request, I want to say last week, across the state, asking for different folks to participate and volunteer to participate in that. So it's not quite stood up yet, from my understanding.
Okay, so I have one last question for you, okay? So it's around obstruction. There's some concern that obstruction will be used as a workaround for developing probable cause to use force that an officer would not otherwise have. How are you addressing potentially using the obstruction charge as a
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And there's mixed, across the state, there's mixed opinions on that from, I would say, attorneys as well as law enforcement agencies. You're not going to, there's no consistent philosophy across the state from various jurisdictions. So obstructing basically is hindering or delaying an investigation. And that includes a criminal investigation. So if you're investigating a crime and someone is hindering or delaying that, that is technically considered obstruction. Talking to Wasberg, who writes Law Enforcement Digest every month, he digests all these different case laws from across the state and across the nation. He is like the guru of a case law. You know, he said there's, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said there's nothing that prevents it, but I would be very careful about using it. So the guidance we have given, the guidance I have given to our department is, the greater the level of government interest in the crime that you are investigating, the more I would support you using obstructing in order to stop this person from fleeing. An example, and we use this as a training example at in-service last year. If I have someone, we had a shooting that occurred north, unfortunately turned into a fatality. About 13 minutes later, and 4 miles away, officers contacted that vehicle. Those subjects in the vehicle that were identified by multiple witnesses at the scene of the shooting, they said, this is the vehicle, these are what the suspects look like, whom the officers have them right there. So the question was, if they decide they're not going to stop and flee after they just had the shooting, would it be appropriate to use obstructing? And my response to them was, the level of government interest in potentially detaining somebody involved in a homicide is high. However, for a shoplifting or maybe a vehicle prowler, a lower level property crime, and don't get me wrong, for the victim, that is very, very offensive and frustrating. However, it's a low level property crime. The level of government interest in using force on a lower level crime is diminished of using force to investigate that lower level property crime. So again, we didn't have, with the changes that occurred with the law, we didn't have uber clear guidance on a lot of this stuff. So a lot of what you're seeing across the state, what I've seen is departments struggling to figure out where is that threshold. So what we have decided was we're not going to carte blanche use obstructing, but if the level of government interest is elevated and high, that's where we get to a more comfortable position of saying we will support and endorse you using obstructing to allow reasonable force to be used to detain this person while you finish the investigation.
Thank you, Chair Mito. So do you have anything that we didn't cover in the questions or anything you want to report to the commission before I turn it over for additional questions from commissioners?
If I can, super quick, I'll be respectful of your time. Can I try to share my screen real quick? One of the things I was asked to talk about was impact of the reform laws, and I will make it super quick if I can. If I can figure out how to get to my windows. Give me 1 second, please. Challenges, we've got WebEx, we've got Zoom, we got Teams, we've got Skype, we've got so many different software programs. I'm just disappointed I did not invest in them 2 years ago. Anyone more technical savvy than me know how I can access a folder on my wallpaper? If this was Zoom, I would have had it by now. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Okay, now we'll go through this really quick. Happy to answer any questions y'all may have, and go back. But I will do it super quick, just to kind of show. And this is a presentation put together by crime analysts, and okay. Are you all able to see my screen?
I can't see it. There's a share button at the bottom. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Okay. So this was a presentation. We've been asked a lot about what have been the impact. What's been the impacts to the city of Spokane since these reforms, these law changes? Chairman Jasmine kind of hit on some of these impacts as well. So we put together a PowerPoint to kind of illustrate and show the impacts from July 25th of last year. Okay, so, and can you see my cursor on there as I'm moving around? So I can use that as a pointer. Okay, so if you look at 2021 crime comparison, violent crime and property crime, and what we did is one of the things, and Chuck Ramsey used to be a commissioner from Philadelphia, a man I extremely admire, made a comment once about, you know, we don't want to look at crime just in 1 year. I mean, yes, we should pay attention to it, look for trends, but when you really want to talk about trends, he goes, you have to look at it over a period of years. So what we did is we tried to look at what is the crime of 2021 compared to the prior 3 years, 2018, 2020. And mind you, 2020 was COVID as well. So even 2020 was somewhat of an anomaly. But when you're looking at violent crime in 2021, is up about 10%. And this went through almost to the end of last year. So this is missing just under 2 weeks worth of data. But violent crime was up about 10% last year. If you look at the 3-year trend, down about 6%. Mind you, 2020, almost everything was shut down for a significant portion of that. Property crime, again, looking at 2021, overall property crime. And this includes vehicle thefts, this includes burglaries, this includes trespasses, et cetera, et cetera. So looking at the 3-year average, 2021 was down 20%. 2021 compared to 2020 was down 9%. So I just want to explain that because that's kind of the flow of this throughout the presentation. There's only about 6 or 7 slides. Okay, and homicides, looking at homicides last year compared to 2020 we're down about 31%, but compared to the 3-year average up 11%. In this box over here is some WASPIC statewide trends. WASPIC, the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, they are the conduit to the FBI crime data. So every single agency in the state of Washington that wants to send their crime data to the FBI for their national database has to go through WASPIC. And when you look at 2020, 302 murders in 2020, and notice that we almost had an increase of 50% compared to 2019. Homicides across the state up almost 67% since 2016. So we're seeing an significant increase in homicides across the state. Drive-bys, and one of the things I like about the slide too is we're not just talking Spokane. These are trends we're seeing across the state. You know, WASPIC noted that the King County Prosecutor's Office saw an increase of 40% of shootings last year. And when you're looking at our drive-by shootings, you can see this trend line, the red dotted line on the right side there, that shows a significant increase in shootings. Now, shootings doesn't mean there's necessarily a victim. A shooting can be a drive-by, a shooting can be with a victim, or a shooting can be where a neighbor sees someone pull up in the middle of the street and shoot a gun in the air and drive off, which actually happens not uncommon. I'm not sure what they're doing. They're not shooting all the time at a house, but you can see that shootings are up very significantly as well. Again, note that it's in King County as well. Sexual assaults in last year were up. Things started compared to 2020. Remind you, 2020 things were shut down quite a bit for a significant part of the year. The bars, the gyms, restaurants, etc. So compared to 2020, sexual assaults were up, down compared to the 3-year trend. Commercial robberies were up. Commercial robberies can be a shoplifter who then pulls out a knife or uses some kind of force to retain whatever merchandise they stole as well. So a commercial robbery isn't always someone walking in with a gun to a cash register. It can be, and it is, but a lot of it also has to do with our shoplifters who are pulling out weapons and threatening loss prevention at these stores. And then again, you'll see robberies of persons. Those have been trending down. Aggravated assault started to go up. And I have to say, domestic violence, aggravated assault. When you hear aggravated assault, think felony assault. These aren't misdemeanors. These are where there was some kind of significant injury or a weapon was involved. So you'll notice reported aggravated assaults related to domestic violence are up almost 20% last year. Okay, property crime. Now, July 25th is when these reforms were enacted, and I'm going to use my arrow here to point out where about the middle of 2021 is. This is about where July is. This is where a lot of these this is where these new reform laws were implemented. And so when you're looking at 2021 trending down, starts to trend up, and then you'll see a spike right around July, August when these reforms were implemented. And then comparing 2021 to 2020, you'll see that for the first half of the year in 2021, last year, all these crime categories were down. All property crimes, res burg, commercial burg, vehicle theft, larceny, all were trending down. And then when you go to July 25th, when we start to see these reforms implemented, what officers can and can't do as well, you start to see these trending up. So from 21, almost 22% down for vehicle thefts, up 44% from where it was. Across the state, vehicle thefts were up almost 50% across the state last year. We were not in that realm. We were up about just over 3% for vehicle thefts last year. But you can see the huge spike once the reform laws were implemented. Same thing with residential burglary. If I point you to the right side of the screen, you'll see right in about the middle of 2021, just before it starts to spike up. But you'll see from July 1st of last year to July 24th, prior to the reforms, you'll see that burglaries were down 14%, and then they started to trend up. Commercial burglaries, same thing down at the bottom. You'll see a note the first half of the year down 13%, and then July 25th through December, they trended up almost 27% as well. And then vehicle theft is very noticeable. Again, on the right screen, you'll see the huge dip in 2021. And then once these reform laws went in, including limitations on pursuits, needing probable cause to detain, et cetera, you'll see that vehicle thefts really spiked as well. And down there's a note that WASPC noted statewide totals are up about 50% for vehicle thefts since the laws were implemented. And this is larceny. That's going to be just your general theft category. And then some more larceny subcategories there as well. So how do I? Now I need to figure out how to stop sharing. There we go.
All right. Do you
There we go.
thank you, Chief Vital. And was that? Thank you for sharing that. That was pretty comprehensive. I was wondering if any of the commissioners had any questions for Chief Vital in regards to any of the questions we asked or the presentation. Commissioner Rose?
Yes, as you were going through those charts, Chief Vital, what I noticed was 2017, 2018 seemed to be higher than, of course, 2020 and 2021. And I was thinking about, a lot of them said since the legislative impact of July 25th. But I noticed that, well, 2017, 2018 was even higher than 2021 on several of those slides. Oh, you're muted.
Which ones stand out to you? Do you remember which ones stand out to you?
Oh, well, as you went through, I think most, I want to say most of them did, but well, like the property crime, I didn't really pay attention to assault, but like the property crime or the burglary or the robbery or the last 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm looking at those. So yeah, if you look at 2017 especially, you'll see that there was those large spikes. And I'm happy to send this to you all as well so you can take some more time to digest it. But when you're looking at the trend line itself, at the 3-year trend line, you'll show that it's trending down. So just because of our hotspot policing, our mission policing, we're really trying to make an effort to focus on our repeat offenders who commit honestly just a gross disproportionate amount of the crime. As we continue to refine our efforts of crime fighting and reducing crimes, you'll see that trend line going back to 2017 on those is trending down, and it's fairly consistent on the majority of these that it's trending down. And that's us constantly revamping our efforts and processes of how are we going to address this crime. But then you'll notice again in July, then you'll see a very abrupt jump up on those. So yeah, the jump up is significant when you're looking at the trend up until July 25th, and then you'll see it jump up. But in the long run, and again, it goes back to what Chuck Ramsey said, we'll have to watch this in the long run to see what happens. Do we get back up to those high numbers again? But over 3 years, at least, they were trending down in the overwhelming majority of those. Not all of them, but the majority of them. Like large, and again, I'll send them to you, and I can pull up the presentation if you like. But just looking at like larceny and residential burglaries, vehicle thefts, all trending down fairly noticeably, and then July 25th hit and boom. And I mean, even having said that, let me get you back on the screen. Having said that, even if you look at first 6 months of the year, it's still going down. And then you'll see after July 25th, it spikes up a lot. So is it spike back up to those priors? Maybe, but it was heading the opposite direction up until July 25th of last year. So it's going down, and all of a sudden July 25th comes, and we have to follow these new laws, and then it spikes up again. So hopefully it won't spike back up to those numbers. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. The other thing I thought of, did we have more police officers in 2017 and 2018 than we do right now? Or do you know that?
No, no, and that's actually a very, very good question. No, we, again, we got the community passed that levy in, I want to say 20, maybe 18 now, that allowed us to hire 20 more officers. So if anything, we're actually at the highest numbers we've ever been as a police department.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Chief Meidel? Commissioner Smith?
Chief Model, thank you for being here tonight, and I really appreciate the time you're putting in after, I presume, a very busy day. I guess my wondering is, you know, back in July when this, the new legislation went into effect, I knew there was going to be a time where we could start record keeping and start gathering data and analyzing that data. So my next question is the legislature going to listen to the statewide data and start to try to maybe nuance some of these laws to make them not quite as to help reverse these numbers that we're seeing? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, and that's a good question. So, in fact, I just saw a quote from Representative Johnson today, where he acknowledged that, some of these laws went a little too far. Doesn't mean we're going to go back to where we were July 24th. That's not going to happen. But I think what he's acknowledged is there was some unintended consequences or some things that were not foreseen. And so now they are going back and they're looking at some of the language and how do they modify the language to still meet the spirit of reforming law enforcement, but still give officers the tools that they need and that they want to keep the community safe. So I am hearing from multiple sources that there will be some modifications to these bills. Again, it's not going to go back to where it was, but there will be some modifications to the bills.
Anybody else? Commissioner Everett?
Yeah, thank you, Chief Meidel, for being here as well. The question that was asked, if there were any additional tools other that you didn't have. My question is, was there a committee or who decides on, or who decided like to buy extra tools instead of possibly training the officers along the lines on the comment that you just made that there could be additional training for the officers. Why were additional tools chosen instead of additional training like de-escalating or additional mental health training?
Yeah. So in other words, you guys bought more of this. Why did you do that? What about training? I would say we did both, and we've done both, and we actually continue to do both. We have revamped our responses to calls. As I shared a little bit earlier, we're now typically going to send an extra officer to calls where you may see where there's an indication that violence has occurred or may occur as well. We've done what we call reality-based training, RBT training on de-escalation, disengaging, and we're actually developing scenarios for this in-service year as well about disengaging, leaving the scene if there's no crime, right? So it's not one or the other for us. We do the training, but we also purchase more equipment as well. I think the two go hand in hand together. When you're talking about specifically the tools that we did buy, like the pepper ball guns and the shields keep our officers safe. They allow our officers to get closer to someone to talk to them. You can imagine if someone is having a mental health crisis and they have a knife, and that's not uncommon. I mean, it seems like everyone has a knife these days, and there's a lot of guns out there too. Rather than try to talk to this person who may be threatening themselves with a knife around the corner or 40 feet away from behind a car, where you can have a car between you and them, it doesn't have the same impact of trying to connect with them, because really what our officers are trying to do is connect with this person who's having that mental health crisis. So an example, going to the tools we bought, like the shield, those shields allow our officers some protection, not complete protection, but they allow them to get closer, which helps ideally establish better communication, which means we can establish at some level a relationship with this person as opposed to yelling from way back. When it comes to, for example, the pepper ball guns too, we know those have been effective because we're able to stay back behind what we call cover, something that will prevent an officer from being shot or stabbed or something thrown at them. We can keep that distance, and we have a saying that distance equals reaction time. So if we're able to stay back further from this person that may have a weapon, and a weapon, I mean, weapon could be just about anything, right? Or even if they're going to be assaulted with their fists, we're allowed to stay back further. That gives us more response time, and those pepper balls allow us that distance, create that distance as well. The challenge we had is we had officers asking for them out in the field and saying, does anyone have a pepper ball gun? I think at that time we may have had, and don't quote me on this, but I think we may have had 6 in the field for the entire city. And a lot of those officers are going to be tied up on other calls. So when we're looking at what are tools that we can purchase that if we get in these situations and we have to use force, it's less likely to cause serious injury. The pepper ball guns were one of the most popular ones because they allow you to keep a distance, they allow you more reaction time, and they're basically a pepper spray. It's sealed in a capsule. So that was one of those things where we knew that our officers were asking for these tools, and if you don't have them, then you've only got the tools that are on your belt, and that means tasers. Tasers are effective maybe half the time, maybe 50% of the time. The batons aren't that effective. So tasers, batons, pepper spray. You have to be close to use pepper spray. Usually 6-10 feet. The further you are away from them, the less effective it is. When I used to actually work on the streets, I think I used pepper spray twice in my career, and it worked great on the officers until the person was in handcuffs. And once that person was in handcuffs, then it started working on them. So these tools we have all have limitations, and the limitations of all the tools on our belt, except for the firearm, is we have to be close to this person. So we again, honoring the spirit of what the legislators wanted, how do we keep that distance? Because they even say in the bills, time, distance, cover. So we want to keep that distance. How can we keep that distance, but still keep this person from running into downtown or fleeing or coming at the officers, but have that response time? So those pepper balls is one of the more common ones that you'll see departments use as well. But again, that's not to the exclusion of training. We're doing all of it.
So we are a little over time. So could we do one last question for Chief Midal? Commissioner Smith? Oh.
Chief Midal, with all due respect, what keeps going through my mind is transparency and SPD, and I want to compliment you tonight for sharing all this information. And the more you communicate, the more information we get, the better we're able to understand things. But I'm going to be really honest. I'm still struggling with the May 31st, 2020 demonstrations that happened, and way back in the beginning, or not terribly in the beginning, but at some point there was an utterance that SPD would be willing to have the OPO do a review of the police force of SPD, because many other police departments around the country found the courage to look at what had happened and what went well and what didn't go well. And we're almost to 2 years here, and then I find out that, well, the blame game goes on. No, it's the guild who won't let us do it, or the guild says no, it's Chief Midal. No, that's the city, and I know that there's probably not a lot of time to try to explain all of this. I guess the theme would be, I hope that we can find some opportunities in the future to really do some of the hard transparency issues when they come up, and I guess I'm just emoting a feeling of disappointment that we didn't get anywhere with looking at what happened, and we could have maybe discovered some things that went well as some things that maybe could have been improved, that we just didn't want to go there. And that, those are my words, and I am sure there's more to the story than I'm aware of.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And that's why when Mr. Logan and I talked about it, I was very supportive of it. And to me, I know we didn't do everything perfect. And I know I've said even after that, we could do this. There's such a, being in that environment circumstance is unlike just about anything. And you can train and get better at it, but there's always going to be those things that you just can't train for because you didn't foresee it happening. So, you know, my philosophy was I'm absolutely supportive of Mr. Logue looking at that, because I know there's things we could have done better. There's not hardly a day that goes by where I know there's not things I could have done better. So why would we, you know, why not have Mr. Logue, who I know, again, is very thorough. You've all seen his reports, and Louis May, you too. Let's have him look at it, provide his input. There may be things in there like, you know what, we understand why you recommend this, but this is something we don't agree with, or it may be we agree with all of it. So I don't disagree with you on that at all, and that's why I invited Mr. Logue to move.
And with due respect, I think there's too many constraints. You know, if you can't interview officers, if you can't do this and you can't do that, it becomes a watered down version of what was the, you know, what would the point be? And especially with this much time that's gone by. And again, I'm trying to think forward in a positive way. If something like this were to happen in the future, boy, I sure hope that the department can find the courage to you know, without obstruction, without constraints that really get us nowhere. The bravery of just shining light where light should be shining. And I appreciate all that you do, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's really irking me.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No, it's a fair question, and I agree with you, and I was looking forward to that as well. Dr. Smith, I had a question. Should I just ask him to email me, or? I'm sorry, Dr. Wilburn. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, is everyone okay if Dr. Wilburn is able to go? Yeah. Okay. Thumbs up. Commissioner Wilburn.
Okay. I had a question. Are those visuals that you showed, are they available on the police dashboard? The visuals that you showed us?
As far as the website, I don't believe so. They can be. They're certainly subject to public records. I'm happy to forward those to you.
Okay. And you say you had probably more police officers now than you've had in the past. In the past, the police officers' records do not follow them, coming from the transfer officers from one police department to another. Has that changed? Is it still the same?
Yeah, we so now actually, and I'm trying to remember the exact date when officers retire, officers or deputies, any commissioned officer in the state of Washington, that agency must keep their records for 10 years. And I believe the agency that is looking to hire what we call laterals has to be able to have access to those records. I will tell you, for us, and again, you know, there's no perfect process out there, but when we hire laterals, we will typically send our background investigator to the agency, try to talk to their internal affairs, try to talk to members on their team, supervisors. We try to talk to their neighbors, and we turn down. We only hire about 1 out of every 3 or 1 out of every 4 laterals that apply for the city of Spokane. And for new hires, it's only about 1 out of every 10 to 1 out of every 12 new hires that apply. Just because we need to make sure we're not going to bring somebody here that's going to embarrass the city, do something, create liability for the city, engage in misconduct. So there's no crystal ball, but one of the best predictors of future behavior is potentially past behavior. So we do try to look at all of that. And when you're talking about those laterals that we didn't hire, it's going to be something typically in their background that causes concern or caution.
So you have access to their background.
Yeah, I believe, and I'd have to go back and look, there's so many reforms. I believe we can get access to it, but I'll have to double check and I'll get back to you.
Okay, and finally, the mental health professionals, do they go to the calls? Are they on call with the officers when they go to the call, or are they sent to the calls?
So they are sitting in the car with the officer or the deputy, and they respond directly with them. They're sitting right next to them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief Mydal, for spending additional time with us and answering all of our questions. I think if we have any other questions, we'll pile it up and send it over. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds great.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay. Mr. Bart, we have here on the next OPO monthly report for November 2021. Want to kick that off?
Yes, sir. Happy New Year, everyone. It's the first time I've got to see everyone. It's great. Today, we're only going to talk about the November report because our office was exposed to COVID right at the beginning of January. And we will be covering the December report along with January in our February meeting. In case you're wondering why you don't have a December report, that's why. I am thankful, though, for the rest and vacation I was able to take in December. Thank you very much. I know that Christina also was able to take a little bit of time off, as well as Luby May, and we're appreciative of that. I will say that our work with Luby May being able to be available when I'm not available, and me being available when she's not, the catch-up time post New Year's was pretty quick, actually. So I thought that worked pretty well. So in November, I had to go back and do some head scratching to try to remember what happened in November. But we had 129 contacts with the community. We conducted 8 community member interviews, which resulted in 4 OPO complaints. And we also had 10 referrals. So 6 of those referrals went to IA, and 4 of those referrals went out into the community. We also attended 7 officer interviews in internal affairs. Again, we're working remotely, so when we're attending those, we mean we're attending by phone, but with internal affairs, I think would be a better way to state that. Had 28 meetings and significant contacts with SPD. I was also able to have a really long and significant contact with Patrick Stryker from COPS. We went over some different ideas there. Complaints from the OPO, or at least submitted to the OPO that we put into the system, were down about 25% from the previous year. So for the year, we had 41 complaints. At least that's the number I received today. And then 67 referrals for the year. Before I get further, it just popped into my mind in regards to that May 31st protest review and some of the obstacles that we would face in even conducting that. I think that is prime material for us not to sit on, but to aggressively push towards the city as they work in negotiating the upcoming police contract. We need to tell them that some of these restrictions are unnecessary and burdensome. So if you look at our closing reports, we list out all the restrictions put in there. I would ask you to look around the country and see if you can find one other oversight agency who writes reports that have those sort of restrictions. I'm betting that you will come up with no. agency having those sort of restrictions placed upon them. More interesting than that, the city just funded an Office of Civil Rights, and they provided them with 3 staff, and they provided them with authority to conduct investigations. Just want to stop there because we should have that very same authority. So really, significant items that we were working on in November, we had actually quite a bit of around the state outreach. Pierce County, they had some issues over there, perhaps you've heard, with their sheriff and some other things. They reached out to our office, I want to say 3 or 4 times, and it might even be more than that in regards to help. They were looking for what are the things that are working for us, what are the things that weren't working for us as they try to set up their own system of oversight in Pierce County. And starting from scratch, with nothing in place, it was quite a challenge. And the person that contacted us, we had video meetings with her, an attorney from that county. As she began to get into it, she was surprised at all of the layers and how deep some of the obstacles can be. But we were able to have a lot of time working with them, and it's one of those things where you kind of start to feel ahead of some other people in where they are in regards to oversight, even though as we're looking forward, we're trying to maintain some of the freedoms and reporting and authorities that we would still like to have. The Washington State Attorney General's office, they also contacted us, and they were working on putting together a model use of force policy. That was part of the legislative changes that came out. And last year, I was working with NACO on their model use of force policy creation team, and I was able to bring NACO into that discussion with the Washington State Attorney General's office on that. So there'll be more to follow on model use of force policy in Washington State, but our office has played a small role in that. Commissioner Wilburn is on an advisory group for the Attorney General's office, and I was invited to give a presentation on use of force data and statistics and how we use them. And we were able to point them towards our use of force dashboard system, which we have had implemented now for 3 or 4 years. So again, I think it was nice to feel ahead of the game in regards to that. We might not have all the details that Washington State may put out, but I'm looking forward to see the product that they choose and the data that will become available in regards to uses of force statewide. Casework. In November, we had 6 cases that I certified, and I returned 1 case for further investigation. 2 web summaries reviewed. That's a new thing that we have to do. Internal Affairs writes a summary of a case, then they send it over to us, and we review whether or not we think it covered some of the more significant details or not of a complaint before they're posted online. Special cases, we had 6 uses of force, 3 canine incidents, 5 collisions, and 1 pursuit. And we also attended 2 deadly force review boards, 1 use of force review board, and 1 collision pursuit review board. Training in November still included the virtual NACO conference that was available all the way up through December 31st. And if If the commissioners, if any of you had the opportunity to attend any of those virtual training sessions, would you please let us know so that we can keep track of that, as it all counts towards your certified practitioner of oversight designation. We also attended one other webinar, which was on investigating and analyzing uses of force. A lot of that information we already put out via our uses of force dashboards. 2021, I served on several committees, 3 with NACOL, Strategic Planning Committee, the Use of Force Working Group, and then Member Development and Support Committee. I also serve on the Board of Directors for Leadership Spokane and also for the Jonah Project. In November, I was contacted and asked to consider applying for the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission. And I put my name in the hat for that. And Governor Inslee appointed me to that position mid-December. As such, I will still be on some of the more strategic things with NACOL, but I'll be pulling back from some of those other duties. I'll finish out being the chair of Leadership Spokane this year, and then just be a board member. So I am looking forward to switching all that that time over to something that I deeply care about, which is improving policing in Washington State, and very just honored and humbled to have the opportunity. The last thing I wanted to mention is that on Thursday, Libby May and I have a chance to meet with the city administrator. And one of the things that I tried to jam through in the last couple of weeks in December was trying to use some of our remaining year-end funds that we had in order to push them towards a wall that we've talked about for some time in the OPO area, which would allow our conversations to remain private, and it would allow us to look a little bit more professional in that corner of the building. We were too late to put our money towards that. The work would have had to begin before December 31st, but we did gain some momentum in regards to that. And Libby May has a picture that she'll pull up that we had a contractor send to us. What we tried to do was ask them to match the other side of the first floor in City Hall. And so that wall will go, should it be approved, would go right underneath that existing overhang. And but inside of those pillars, there will be a couple of those partitions. You see them if you go into City Hall in 311, they're silver and blue. They're very, very nice. They're professional looking, so that we would still maintain a complaint intake area inside of that glass wall. We don't have the updated picture of what that might look like yet, but we're hopeful that we can push this into a capital project this year. And that is what we've been working on. Annual report, we are very, very close for the OPO to being completed. So that will be available, barring any significant setback at the February meeting. One of the things that we have to do is wait for some year-end feedback from SPD, and it became apparent and confirmed with the COVID exposure and folks having to be out of the office, that trying to get it done by tonight was just a bridge too far. So we'll continue to work on that, and hopefully we'll have that done at the very next meeting. Subject to your questions, that'll be my report on November.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. Any questions? Commissioner Rose?
Sorry, the picture that Libby May just showed, was that the other side of the floor, or was that how it's supposed to look for the OPOC?
That's on the other side. They have those glass kind of
Right.
ceiling things for the conference rooms. We would use that same design and push that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Any additional questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Logue, for your report.
Thank
We're
you,
going to
Chair.
move over to OPOC Legal Counsel update. So the OPO checked with the city legal and they have not received an application yet. So at this point, we're kind of moving to slightly all hands on deck. If anyone is, if you know of anyone who might be interested, I think it's time to start putting it out in the community. Just want to hear if anybody from the commission or OPO has any thoughts, comments about that. Okay, none. So, yeah, that's where that is right now. As far as the annual report, Mr. Logue alluded to that already. The goal is to have it done by February, but it will take all of us commissioners coming up with ideas of what we would like to be on there. Could quickly just discuss and maybe do a quick brainstorming session around it. I would like to start if I could. I think it'd be very important to highlight that Mr. Logue was appointed by the governor Inslee to be a member of the Criminal Justice Training Commission. I think it's very important for that to be on the annual report. I also think it's very important for us to highlight that Commissioner Wilburn is on the Washington State Attorney General's Office Law Enforcement Data Collection Advisory Group as well. Do we have any thoughts on that or any other, brainstorming ideas, Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I know that as chair for 2021, I need to write, I would like to write a letter that's been past practice. And I agree with what you just discussed. I lost my train of thought. There's a lot of neat things that happen in 2021, and such as salary adjustments. We worked hard on getting salaries adjusted for a little closer to what it should be for this for 2021, 2022. I feel successful, or we should as a commission feel successful about that. I think another important goal that was achieved was the funding for OPLC training that came through, and training funds as well for the OPO, if I'm correct, Mr. Logue, on that. Those are just a couple of things I'm thinking of for right now anyway.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Commissioner. Anybody else? Any thoughts? What should we have on the annual report? Okay.
I think also the new wrinkle of closing reports that for 2021, I thought were for me as a commissioner, I found really interesting. It really helped me understand more of the work that happens in looking closely at information in these closing reports. So
Okay. So, you know, as we think about ideas, Ms. Louis May and Mr. Logue, what would you like? What would you just want us to email you and highlight? Because I'm sure after this call, probably think of some things that need to be added.
Yes,
What would be the
emails
best
are
way?
welcomed. Please just remember not to copy all, for public record issues, and meeting issues. So if you could just send that to me, Bart, Christina, that would be great. And then I wanted to follow up with Commissioner Smith about your letter. So Bart asked me to send out some year-end closing numbers. I've been working on the data for the annual report, and that's the last thing I need to do. And we reformatted our report last year, so I'm still getting familiar with it, but I will get the data for the year to you by the end of the week.
Okay, thank you for that. All right. If there's nothing else with the annual report, we can move to the 2022 budget. So, like Commissioner Smith and Louis May and spoke have identified, we have received the approved budget for training and OPO for 2022. I would like permission from the commission to write a thank you letter to the city on behalf of the commission. I think it's just a good move on our part, and hopefully it just leads to more opportunities in the future. Uh, Commissioner Rose?
So we did receive the money for the training? Oh, well, this is the first I've heard of it. Did we receive an email saying that or anything? When they approved the budget last month? Well,
I
that
saw,
would have been nice to have, because
I saw it
kind
in
of
the
worked a little on
newspaper.
that one.
Yeah,
So
Jenny.
that would have been nice to know. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So happy to hear it, though.
That's how I found out.
Oh, Commissioner Smith, you broke up a little bit.
I'm trying to respond to Commissioner Rose. Hold on.
Sorry, Commissioner Smith, I've been unmuting you, so I think we've been battling. You're on mute now, so let me unmute you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. So Commissioner Rose, I found out via the newspaper, and like you're saying, I would have liked to have had it a little more formal from somewhere. Anyway, just I think more importantly, I'm just glad that we got it, and yeah, it was.
Thank you. That would be great if Commissioner Jasmine would write a thank you note. So yes, on
Thank you.
behalf of us.
I think I saw yes, Mr. Logue.
And to be fair, I found out from Commissioner Smith. But I wanted to point out that not only did we receive the OPOC training dollars, they also reset our budget to the way it was before COVID began. So we got everything we asked for.
That's awesome. Okay. Any more thoughts, comments on the 2022 budget? Okay, so we can move over to the OPOC to 2022 goals. And I would like to start this off by saying, okay, so we got the funds. And the training is there, and I would like for us to figure out a way to pencil out a few NACO trainings and do it together as a group. I think that would be a great goal for 2022. But just wanted to hear from you all. What are some other things that we can set for ourselves in 2022? I think we should dream big. We got a dream team here.
I like the suggestion or the thought that our ombudsman had in terms of the new civil rights organization having the power to investigate. You know, if we in some way could attach our commission to that civil rights organization in terms of investigations so that we can be more empowered to provide the oversight that that we've been commissioned to do, you know. And there's been some hindrance, you know, because we have to go through this process or go through that process. But if we could connect to Gerald Haynes and his organization, you know, it may provide us with more information and more leverage in providing the oversight that we've been commissioned to do.
I agree. Commissioner Rose?
One of the questions I have, and maybe Mr. Logue knows this, where is the office of the Civil Rights Commission in City Hall? Do you know? Ms. Amana, do you know?
I don't know where they plan to put it.
Does anybody know?
Yeah, I can message Gerard right now. I believe they're right underneath the city council. So the floor, whatever floor that is, the floor underneath. He's in a cubicle right now.
He's in a cubicle. Okay.
This is Tim Zamblin. I believe he's either on the 7th floor or he's been moved down to the 6th floor. So he's in the top 2 floors.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other thoughts about 2022 goals? Okay. Yeah, let's go with Commissioner Navarrete.
I would love to see if we can probably get more involved with the community, following the steps of the new Office of Civil Rights established, but also us being more out in the community. Hopefully, the whole COVID will just go down a little bit, and we can do like in-person events, and we can invite community members, but just get the community to know us a bit more and the work we do.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. Commissioner Smith?
I concur with Commissioner Navarrete that it would be awesome to get back in the community, and just for reassurance to you, before COVID, there were a lot of opportunities and there was a lot of networking and lots of community engagement and dialogue, and I found myself missing that. Just not as many opportunities. On a different goal for 2022, it goes back to what Mr. Logue mentioned. We have, so there's another contract, is that right, Mr. Logue, that is going to be worked on. And if there's anything we can do to strategize and to insist and meet and just try to get our word and our appearances, you know, physically at some of these meetings, so that we can move in the right direction, get a little more authority and a little more oversight muscle to find out that this new civil rights commission, I can't even finish my sentence thinking about it, that they have powers that we have only dreamt about, and it just, something is not right there, and so that would be my number one for the wish list, is that we really figure out how do we get ourselves at the table as we should be at the table. We were kind of at the table last time, a day late and a dollar short, but we were there towards the very end. Maybe this time we can be there at the beginning rather than at the end. And so anyway, I think I've made myself pretty clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Rose, did you have your hands up before?
Yes, I was going to ask, does anybody think there will be some, oh gosh, sorry, with the Civil Rights Commission, crossover, I think is the word I want to use, from what Mr. Haynes will be hearing that might pertain to the OPOs, the OPO? Could there be some crossover? And, I've known Jarrell for several years now, but I'm wondering if Mr. Logue and Louie May have reached out to him perhaps? Or maybe Commissioner Jasmine, maybe you've talked to, so he knows about us probably a little bit better. But I can imagine there might be some crossover, but I don't, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
Just a
I've
thought.
I've spoken to Jarrell quite a bit about just the OPO and his position and how we could partner. I didn't know about the investigation piece, so I'll follow up on that. But I'm wondering, since we're having so many questions, if one of our goals is just to see if Jarrell could come to one of our meetings, and maybe that's what you're alluding to, Commissioner Rose. But yeah, maybe he can come to the meeting and we can just ask questions like we did with Chief Milo. And if it's a formal invitation that comes from Mr. Logue and Ms. Louie May, I can follow up on the back end and say, hey, look at that email.
I think that's a great idea. I was invited to attend the Human Rights Commission meeting on a couple of times and gave my thoughts as to independence and what would be important for that office. So it'd be interesting to hear directly from him how he thinks that's shaking out. But I would definitely want to help in any way I can him to avoid any of the pitfalls that we've found ourselves mired down in.
Okay. Well, any other thoughts about the OPOC 2022 goals?
Just to follow up on that, so I will reach out later this week or maybe early next week, and then I'll try to get some availability from him, and then I will follow up with you, Commissioner Jasmine, about when we could put him on the OPOC meeting to present or speak with you commissioners.
Thank you. Mr. Logue?
Yeah, it's not really a goal for the commission, but it's a goal for our office that we're going to do our best to reach out and schedule one meeting a month at a minimum with each commissioner moving forward. We have a daily, it's not daily, it's 3 times a week. We have a set time. If that doesn't work, we can move it to any time that might work for you. But we've had an occasional opportunity to invite a commissioner to that meeting. It's just nice to share what we're doing. We want to keep you better in the loop on that. So that's a goal that we have for our office for this coming year. And you're welcome to attend as much as you like. We welcome the commissioners into our world.
Thank you for that. All right. Well, as we think of more goals, we could do the same thing that we're thinking about the annual report. So I'll send emails out to Ms. Louie May and not CC everybody or reply all. Now we've reached a point where we have commissioners speak out. So Commissioner Smith.
I guess my commissioner speak out is, I guess it's a celebration of all of us here tonight. Chair Jasmine, I think you did an awesome job. Thank you for taking on the role. You are a natural, and you run a very comfortable meeting and very businesslike and very professional. Thank you so much. You'll do awesome. And Commissioner Navarrete, I understand that you went to your first NACOL in December. I think that's a huge celebration. Thank you for doing that. I know, I remember my first one, and wow, I'm sure you got a lot from it, and I hope that we can all go together sometime in the future. And Dr. Wilburn, wow, I mean, to be appointed to what you've been appointed to, I can't think of a more outstanding person to be on that board. I would like to talk to you more about it some other time, because I'm really at a loss of words. I don't understand it, but I know it's that if you're on it, it's going to be awesome. And thank you for doing that. And Mr. Logue, my hat is off to you as well because of your appointment. And if I've missed somebody else who's done something wonderful, I think you're just doing wonderful by being here. But if I've missed something, please let me know. I think that's I think this is a commission that's very dynamic, and we've got an OPO that's also dynamic. We're not the little office in the corner collecting cobwebs. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's a force to be reckoned with. And got two powerhouse folks, well, actually three, Louie May and Bart and Christina. So I'm all glows and grows and roses. So thank you, everyone. That's my speak out. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for bearing with me. My wife and I have been going through some medical changes, for the past year or two, and she's has cancer, and I'm diabetic, and so we're compromised when it comes to this COVID-19, so we have to be careful. But I'm looking forward to using the information from the Attorney General's office and plugging our commission into that information, because it's plugged into the legislators for the state. And of course, we know the Attorney General is the chief law enforcement for the state of Washington. So that information will be valuable for us as we gather information from across the state. Commissioner Smith has attended our courageous conversations from time to time. I'm hoping, and I think you too, Bart, our OPO officer, and we're looking forward to doing that again when we can get out, because that information not only can be disseminated into the community, but it can also, information can be gathered from the community. And if we are connected to the Civil Rights Commission, you know, I think that'll make us a little more powerful in the community when it comes to oversight over what's going on in the community, you know. So hopefully we can bring those forces together and make it happen. You know? So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you for bearing with us, you know, through our illnesses. And we're still kind of under the weather, but, you know, God is able. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Commissioner Wilburn. All right, anybody else? All right, Commissioner Navarrete.
I just want to share that I was blown away on my first NACO conference. I met people from all over the nation, and I was just amazed at how some city police departments have and work with their community so they can adjust to their needs and not the community needs to their police department. I brought so much back also that I love to discuss. Every night I told my partner that, oh, this amazing thing happened today, like the 4 days I was there. It was just really well organized, and looking forward to hopefully all of us going, and I can talk to you all about all the conferences when we go. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Well, if that's all, thank you all for, again, taking your time out of your day to be on this call for a little under 2 hours. It's always great to see your faces, and let's tackle 2022. Big things are ahead. Do I get, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, really? Yeah, actually, yeah. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I don't think we need a motion to adjourn. I think
we
you
don't?
can just, no, I think you can just do that, Commissioner Jasmine.
Okay, so what I'll say is the next Ombudsman Commission meeting is scheduled for February 15th, 2022. So hope to see all of you there. And yeah, have a great one. Have a great night, and we'll see you next month.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you.